Okay, so question number 5. Okay, so there is no question here. Well, actually, I'm looking up here. How do you convert as a decimal and a percent? So I'm guessing conversion between a decimal and a percent. So let's look at the Junior Tutor solution to get some idea on kind of what the question is asking. So here we're given steps. So here, step 1, observe the denominator of the fraction. The denominator is a number which can be written as 2m times 5n, and m and n are non-negative numbers, then the fraction can be converted into a terminating decimal, otherwise it is a non-terminating decimal. So they kind of give you a simple kind of trick to determine if the decimal is a terminating or non-terminating. Non-terminating means that the decimal places just go on forever. Terminating means that at some point the numbers after the decimal point stop. So divide the numerator by denominator. If the division is non-terminating or the division is too long, then the decimal expansion can be rounded up to 2 to 3 decimal places. This will give us an approximate fraction. So let's look at kind of an example here below. So 7 over 20 is one of the fractions. So if we had 7 over 20, you can see the denominator is 20, and it can be written as 2 to the power of 2 times 5. So kind of thinking about the denominator, we look at 20. We know that 2 to the power of 2 is 4, and 4 times 5 is 20. So it can be written as 2 to the power of 2 times 5. And then going back up here, I'll write this up top. So 2m times 5n. We can see that we kind of put it in a format where this is true. Therefore, we have a terminating decimal. So if we were to plug this into our calculator, we can kind of see that this would give us 0.35, and we can see that we would end up with a terminating decimal point. So if you were kind of if you wanted to get 0.35 kind of using without using a calculator, you can kind of think about it as follows. So 7 over 20. What I usually like to do is try to get the base, the denominator, the 20, to equal 100. So we know 20 times 5 will give us 100. So if you multiply bottom and top by 5, we'd end up with 35 over 100. And since 100 in the denominator is easier to divide into 35, we know how the decimals work here. We just shift over the decimal place twice, so 1, 2, and we'd end up with 0.35. And we know it terminates at 5, so the rest follows is just zeros, but we don't necessarily write that. But this validates that yes, it's a terminating decimal point. So let's look at another example presented by the Junior Tutor. So here we have 5 over 8. We look at the denominator. We know that 8 can be written as 2 to the power of 3. That means we know it's a terminating decimal point. So again, we want to get 8 to equal 100%. In this case, it might be a little more difficult to do that. But I guess how you can think about it. So let me clear some space here. So if I had 5 over 8, I know right away that 4 over 8 is equal to 50%, or 0.5. That means 5 over 8 should just be a little bigger, but not that much bigger. So here, if we were to, the easiest way would kind of just be plugging into your calculator, but you can see here that 5 times 20, so here they do 5 times 25 divided by 2, and they divide 125 by 2 to get, so here they kind of rearrange. Let me see here what did they do here. So 5 times 25 divided by 2. So okay, so essentially what they did here is if we had 5, and we know that it's 2 times 2 times 2. So 5 times 25 divided by 2. So here they multiply by 100%. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they did here, but they did end up with the right final answer. So I guess if you split up kind of 1, this is kind of a better way to think about it. Right, so if you split up 1 into divided by 8, you know that if you did 1 divided by 10, you would get 0.1. And then essentially 1 divided by 8 is 0.125. If you multiply this by 5, you would end up with 0.625. So if we multiply this by 5, we would end up with 0.625. And then finally, here we have 3 over 5. This is another one that can be written as in this 2 to the m times 5 to the n. So we know it's a terminating decimal point. 3 over 5 is just 0.6. If we think about how many times does 5 go into 100, it would be 20 times. So 20 times 5 gives us 100. Therefore, we can multiply top and bottom by 20, and we'd end up with 60 over 100. That would give us 60%. Okay. So here the solution is correct. Great job. And we'll mark this as correct.